Friends, I Ankur Raj welcome you all to this newly made lecture series based upon the Cambridge University Press curriculum pattern. So basically we are dealing about the computer science domain of Cambridge. Okay, and so this video lecture would be helpful for those schools which are based on CBSE permanently and also some of the CAIE and IGCSE board. Okay, now the book which we are following is ClickStart-Class6 chapter number 1 only, which is going on right now, and this is lecture number 3rd of chapter number 6. The lecture would be according to the class, it's not according to the chapter. It means suppose the chapter has ended, it doesn't mean that we will again start my lecture from 1 chapter 2, and again suppose 10 lectures are there chapter 2 and 10 videos I have made, and then again chapter 3 again you start with lecture 1. No, it's not like that. It means that the lecture would be according to the class. Suppose until class 6 we are having 250 lectures. Okay, so it would be having 250 lectures, means it is dependent upon the class, not the chapters. Okay, so right now in this particular video lecture I would be covering about the evolution of computers. That too, if you would be talking about the specific generation, it would be the first generation dated from 940 to 956. So now students, let's move ahead and understand this particular evolution, that is the first generation of computers. Let's understand this. Okay, so again we are following which book? We are following ClickStart. Those ClickStart is also based on the Cambridge University Press, means the publisher is Cambridge University Press, and it's the international edition which we are following. And also we have compared the contents from which the Indian authors have re-edited these books, so everything is matching. So this is 3rd edition. Okay, see, we can see the Cambridge University Press 3rd edition, means 2020. Introduction we have seen, overview. Okay, now these contents are same. Now Know Your Computer would be dealing with what? Evolution of computers. So what is the meaning of evolution of computers? Evolve, evolve means computers evolved. What is the meaning of evolve? Means how you can describe the word evolve. What is the meaning of evolve? Just think and answer me. See, evolve means nothing but, okay, evolve means nothing but we can say to discover, to develop. Okay, to develop what? To develop something gradually from a simple to advanced form. As I was talking, students, about the evolution means, as we have seen, to develop means something is developing gradually, slowly it is developing from simple to graduate to advanced form. So computers were evolving at those times, means in those early 90s, in those early 1900s, means 1920, 1930s, computers were there. Okay, computers were there, but that was in the evolving stage, means development was going on. Okay, so every day, so if we would be talking about today, everyday task to moving satellites, means normal works, means computers are doing what? Normal work, normal task. It is in office, it is used to be in office, it is used to design, it is used to study, it is used to do some calculations, okay, designing. So from everyday tasks to moving satellites. So but it is also controlling the satellites in the space, the universe. It is doing so many things. So from small to very big, from very general, very prominent thing, from very slow to very fast. Okay, so many dimensions are there where we can see that from normal everyday tasks to moving satellites in space, computers are revolutionary. Yeah, they have revolutionized almost everything. Means from small to big thing, computers are everywhere. It is doing different types of jobs. Okay, that's why it is compared. Okay, from everyday tasks to moving satellites in space. So computers have just revolutionized. Okay, it's changed everything in a society. Means it has just upgraded us, so that our work efficiency would increase. We would be not feeling fatigue. Okay, not feel tired. Our work would be done directly or indirectly by the help of computer systems and all. So it has just revolutionized our society in different domains, in different departments. It has just given a boom in those sectors, in each and every sector, we could say. So the development of computers has been classified into so many generations. Okay, because normally what we are saying, this is like you are the young generation. Okay, you are the current generation. Okay, then your father is what, one generation back. Okay, just one generation back. One generation back is your father's. Now grandfather, two generation back. Okay, so what would be the first generation? Okay, whatever you know, grandparents, grandparents. So here suppose grandparents are there. So these were the first generation. Your father is the second generation, and you are the young generation or the current generation. So you are the third generation. Okay, so we would be reading from the first generation of computers. So first generation means from grandfathers and all, timings and all years. So the first generation computer is dated from 940 to 956. Means from 940 to 956, so many computers were developed during this timeline. So those computers were kept under the topic, under the heading of first generation computers. And the main thing which was invented during this time period was vacuum tube. So how vacuum tube will help in the revolutionary movement done by the computer directly or indirectly, as it was working in each and every field which is around us in the society, like from everyday tasks to moving satellites in space. That's why we can say that computers have revolutionized almost everything in our society. So under this classification, we are studying right now the first generation of computers, which is dealing from year 940 to 956, and the main thing which was invented, the main component was vacuum tube. So what is vacuum tube? So during the evolution of computer, students, as computers were changing, designing, development was very, very, very much common and all. So computers were evolving only. So the first generation during 940 to 956, it was characterized by the use of vacuum tubes, because the vacuum, so many things were made, but the vacuum tubes only were those things which revolutionized and made the first generation computers very specific, very important, very crucial. Why? Because the first generation computers were built to solve physics equations. Means the main agenda, the main responsibility of those time. So as we have discussed about the first generation computers were built to solve physics equations. So now students, we should further see about how we can say that our first generation computers, which were using the algorithms to solve physics equations. Physics is what? It's one of the part of science. Okay, so how these first generation computers, which were using vacuum tubes, Okay, so how these computers, the first generation computers which were using vacuum tubes, so how they were solving the physics equations. So these computers were solving physics equations. How? The answer to this question is here only, students. Okay, so here we need to focus that these first generation computers were using electronic vacuum tubes. Okay, what vacuum tubes were used? By the help of vacuum tubes only, those scientists were solving physics equations. So by the use of vacuum tubes only, those scientists were solving physics equations. And these computers were the first generation computers. And first generation computers are helpful. First generation computers were helpful to solve physics equations by the help of vacuum tubes. How? Because they are one of the kind of switching components. Switch means to change from one to another, from one mode to another mode. And so is the vacuum tube. It is a switching component. So by the help of this switching component, which is a vacuum tube, electronic vacuum tube, the first generation computers were used to solve physics equations. And one language were also used. Okay, along with the vacuum tubes, one language were also used along with the vacuum tubes to solve the physics equations and all. So those languages were machine language. So if the question would come that which type of language is used in first generation computers, so the language is the machine language. Okay, so these machine languages were used in the first generation computers to solve the physics equations. And so not only machine language, along with machine language, vacuum tubes were also used to solve these physics equations. And these vacuum tubes are nothing but an electronic switching component, so as to switch the signals and all. Okay, friends, and the machine language were also used. So what is the machine language? It is a kind of low level programming language. So this type of language, it was a low level programming language, and it was written in the form of 0 and 1 for computing things. Means the signals were like 0 and 1. 1 means on state and 0 means off state. So these are kind of signals. Okay, we can also say that the kind of signals: 0 signal, 1 signal. If 1 signal is there, it means it is an on state signal, and if 0 is there, it means it is an off state signal. So in this particular language, the things where the information were given. Okay, so this language is nothing but a kind of low level programming language. So it was written with the help of 0 and 1, means a combination of 0 and 1, like 001, 100. It could be of different numbers. Okay, 3-digit number or 4-digit number, but the combination would be having only 0 and 1, means only 2 digits were used, 0 and 1. That's why it is a machine language. Means machine means a language which could be understood by a machine, and the machine would understand only low level programming language. It's comprised of 0 and 1s, so for computing. So finally again we would be telling that vacuum tubes along with the machine language were used in the first generation computers. Okay, in the first generation computers, that is from 940 to 956. Okay, to solve what? Physics equations. And also the main thing which was used was the vacuum tube, for which our first generation computer is famous for. Okay, now again, if I would be talking about the first generation computers, students, then these first generation computers were also very we could say very expensive and bulky. Why expensive? Because in those days it was not very common thing. It was in its initial stages, so it was expensive. The things were things were bulky, things were very hard to find out. Okay, the things were every small to big components of those computers were very expensive. So the whole computer, the fourth generation computer, was very expensive and bulky. It was very large. It was taking so much space. If we could say, it would be covering about the size of a room. Okay, the vacuum tubes also did not support multitasking. Means those computers were not working as a multitasker. Means multitasking means doing so many tasks or solving so many tasks, so many works at a time. Means right, at the same time it is also playing a music, at the same time it is doing calculation, and at the same time it is downloading a software in the background. So in this kind of way we can say multitasking. So those first generation computers which were using vacuum tubes, okay, were not supporting multitasking. And also the programs written in the machine language, because by those languages, computer languages, so which language was there at that time? It was machine language, which is one of the kind of low level language. So that machine language, which was a low level language, so whatever programs or codes were written with the help of the machine language were also very complicated. Okay, those are very complicated as a mixture of so many algorithms were there. So it was we can say it was very much complicated. It seems to be very much hard. Okay, it seems to be very much hard and all. So that's why we are saying that those machine languages which were kind of the low level languages were not normal. It was very much complicated and difficult to remember. It was not easy to understand those particular languages or to implement those particular languages in our program, to make any program, to perform any task. It was not an easy thing. It was very hard thing. It was very difficult and also complicated, because our machine language, the combination of zeros and ones, and because our machine languages was comprised of zero and 1. Okay, so it was not easy to make different codes, different programs with the help of those machine languages, because it was very much complicated and difficult to remember and also understand. Okay students, so one fact file is given here, that one computer was there, UNIVAC, whose full form is universal. From UNI it is universal, and from UNIV, from UNIV it is universal, and from A it is automatic, and from C it is computer. So UNIVAC is a computer, universal automatic computer, and ENIAC was also a computer. It means the abbreviation ENIAC stands for, E stands for electronic, N stands for numerical, I stands for integrator, A stands for and C stands for computer. So electronic, numerical, integrator and computer. So these are two computers, very famous computer in the junior computer students, UNIVAC and ENIAC. It is very much common. What is an UNIVAC computer? What is an ENIAC computer? So UNIVAC is nothing but a computer from during the time of the first generation computers. So these computers are during the time of first generation computer, means between 1942 and 1956, during which vacuum tubes were very much famous. So during those times there were two computers, okay, which were also very much famous. During the development of the technology vacuum tube, there were two computers which were very famous during the first generation computers. So one is UNIVAC and another is ENIAC. UNIVAC stands for Universal Automatic Computer, and ENIAC stands for Electronic, Numerical, Integrator and Computer. So these are examples of first generation computers, or we can say computer devices. And again, you need to understand that this UNIVAC is one of the kind of first commercial computers. Means this particular computer was used for the commercial purpose, means for the business purpose, not for the normal use, not for the scientific use, or not from the general purpose. Is the UNIVAC were used as a commercial computer. This first computer was used as a commercial computer. Okay students, so right now today we have studied about the first generation computers from 940 to 956, where vacuum tube were very much important component which were discovered to solve the physics equations. Okay, and these vacuum tubes were electronic vacuum tubes and a kind of switching components, and along with the vacuum tubes they were we were all at that time the computers were also using machine languages. For what? For the programming, because machine language is a low level programming written as a combination of 0 and 1, and 0 and 1s are known as bits, so these two digits were used for computing. Okay, but those programmings done with the help of this we can say like machine level language were very much complicated and difficult to remember, and these computers in the first generation were very much expensive and bulky and were not supporting multitasking also. Okay students, we have studied this particular topic under the main parent topic, evolution of computers. So under the evolution of computers we have covered the fourth generation computers. So I think everything was very much clear. So we would now also we have wrapped up our lecture. So now we are moving to our the end slide. So this is our end slide students. So hope so everything is very much clear in this lecture number 3 of class 6. And so students, in this our lecture series is based upon the Cambridge Computer Science domain, which is specifically for some of the CBSEs and CAIE-IGCSE board schools or IB schools, where the book is going on as a ClickStart and basically focusing upon the curriculum of Cambridge University Press, dedicated for the class 6. And right now we are covering chapter 1, and this is students the chapter 1 of class 6, and the lecture number is 3, and the main parent topic is evolution of computers, and we have covered the first generation of computers from 940 to 956. So students, in our next lecture, means lecture number 4 of class 6 only, of chapter 1 only, we would be covering the second generation of computers. Okay students, by that time keep learning things and learn everything very smartly, and act not very much hard work is needed. You need to act smart so as to understand things and not to do rote learning, and understand things so much and such that we could deliver the things at the right time and with the right pace, with the right efficiency of the value based questions and the value based answer. Okay students, by these words I would be ending my lecture of this lecture number 3rd. Okay students, so we will meet in our next lecture. By the time, thank you class.